Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Ghost. This is another edition of our weekly watch list where I give you guys my best setups going into this week. For this video, I'm going to also recap two trades from the last weekly watch list video and how those guys performed, and then get into the regular schedule program. So let's get into it. So going into last week, I told you guys in the weekly watch list video, the first setups I was going to watch is this between this levels 571.89 and 568.15, upside above here, downside below here. So going into Monday's session, I was watching price action as we were coming up to this 571.89. I waited for the 5-minute close, got a decent scalp and stopped out very minimal right here. As you can see, we headed down to our level for the downside. We held that move. And then the next cross above, we got this insane push up that I was looking for. And we hit on that trade. So that was the first setup that I was watching last week in the weekly watch list. Let's look at the next one. So the second setup I'm going to be going over with you guys is that retest of the daily down at 5731 to 5733.5. I was anticipating a huge move just to get a retest back up to this 5783.5. I did say you guys could look for a downside move if we broke below this 5759. On Monday's session, I believe that was the same area that we held on SPY. So on Tuesday, they did do the break and we got that full retest. I didn't participate on the downside move. I was mostly paying attention and waiting for this upside move just because of the nature of how we got down to that level. I didn't want to enter more puts when we got an aggressive move. So I stayed patient for that big bounce area. I entered my calls here, signaled it live, and we got this move up. I trimmed most of my contracts there, held the rest to see if we can get that full move, and if not, I would get stopped out below here and look for another setup. As you can see, we held the area down here and we came back and finished the move. So those are the two main setups I was watching off the weekly watch list. I did enter some calls by swings for October 11. Next time we broke below this area, as you can see, it was on this day. I did enter some call swings and I wanted to get that move back into a higher area. So those were my setups that I took on the week. Let's get into this weekly's watch list. So very similar game plan as last week for the upside. As long as we hold this gap up on SPY on the hourly, I am looking for a new all-time highs. I do have this range 573.24 and this 569.37. I won't be taking any setups in this area. We've had large sweeps and a lot of fake outs in this area. Once we get outside those areas, I'll be looking for some setups. For the upside setup, break above this 573.72. Look to get a trim or a test right at to that 575 level. If we break above, look for the break and retest back into this range until we can see another clean move back out of that 575 for continuation. And for the downside move, I'm looking for the same kind of similar setup as the upside, but for the downside, break below this 569.37. Look to see if we can take that first move, trim into this area, retest, reject, and get a continuation down. Those will all be short-term moves on the downside because I told you as long as we hold this gap up, I think we continue higher. So once we break this gap up, that's when I'll be looking for more aggressive positioning for downside moves. So those are my favorite setups for SPY coming into this week. Let's get into QQQ. So now looking over at QQQ, I got the same kind of range area. I won't be looking for setups as I did with SPY. And it starts at that 487.79 down to this 483.1. For confluence with SPY upside setup, I do want to see QQQ reclaim back above this 489.07 and 489.36, so we can target the next daily level above. And for the downside short term back into the gap, I am going to look for a break back below the 481.61 where we could target that gap up. Then stay patient while we're in this area. Break below that gap up is where the real downside sentiment will come in for me, and aggressive downside positioning, and look to target all the way back down to that 470 area. So that's it for QQQ into this week. Let's go into the futures. So going into this week with the ES December 20 futures contract, I do have the same kind of range with SPY QQQ. I do not like any real setups in between this 5783.5 and this 5731 daily level. As you can see, we've had a lot of price action movement happening in this range. Prior to that, we had a lot of price action. So I'm not really trusting many setups inside this range. I will look for SPY once we get out of that no trade zone for me. But here on ES, I don't have any levels I'm going to be paying attention to between these two daily levels. In the upside setup, I do want to see how the opening for futures this weekend starts. So breaking back above 5803.25, I am looking for a new all-time highs. See if we can get that push back above. And then we'll see where we open up on SPY in the market opens. And then for the downside setup below this 5731, you could look for a short opportunity. I don't know if they're going to give us a continuation because just how many times we've wicked into this area, we've chopped and then we broke above. So coming back here, better safe practice was for me personally is going to be just waiting out this whole area, looking at SPY and taking a setup from there. But that's all I want to look at for ES this week. Let's get into NQ. NQ does have a few better levels, and we are out of kind of a chop area. So I am going to be seeing if we can get a continuation upside here above this 22287 for more upside, and we can go target that 2358 and that 2402. And then for the downside setup, I don't want to take any downside setup confluences with NQ until it loses this daily level at 19,918. You can see here we had a lot of buyers come in and protect this area. So breaking back below there, I do think that will be the catalyst to get us a down move, and then we could target the next lower level on the daily. So those are my main setups I'm going to be watching in my confluences with NQ and QQQ. I am going to have that one area I won't be looking for trade setups. I hope you guys do trade safe in that range if you do trade it. I appreciate you guys. Let's make a bag this week. Peace.